The Valour, written by Amika Didi Alwell Onwukwe, Edao. The room was shrouded in darkness, save for a single flickering light bulb hanging from the ceiling. The cold, damp air clung to the man's skin, causing him to shiver involuntarily. His heart pounded in his chest, the sound echoing through the silence of his confinement. Fear coursed through his veins, but a determination burned within him, a desperate will to survive. Bound to a rusty chair, the man strained against the restraints that held him captive. His wrists were bruised and bloodied, evidence of his relentless struggle against his captors. The room's concrete walls seemed to close in around him, their oppressive weight pressing against his psyche. But he refused to yield to the despair that threatened to consume him. His captors, faceless and nameless, moved with unsettling precision, preparing the gruesome tools of their trade. A table stood nearby, adorned with sharp, gleaming instruments, their edges reflecting the dim light. Among them, a wickedly curved blade caught the man's gaze, its purpose unmistakable. His mind raced, searching for an escape route, a glimmer of hope in this hellish nightmare. Sweat trickled down his forehead, mingling with the blood from the wounds inflicted upon him. Pain was a constant companion, a reminder of the brutality he had endured. But it fueled his resolve, pushing him to summon every ounce of strength that remained within him. As he assessed his surroundings, his eyes landed on a cracked mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. It had been a witness to his torment, a silent observer of his suffering. But in that moment, it held the promise of salvation. He locked eyes with his reflection, a defiant fire burning in his gaze. "Fight," he whispered to himself, his voice hoarse from days of captivity. "You've come too far to surrender now." Summoning a reserve of determination, the man summoned all his strength to tip the chair over, his body crashing against the hard floor. The pain intensified, but he ignored it, the adrenaline coursing through his veins, numbing his senses. He thrashed on the ground, using every muscle, every fiber of his being to inch his way towards freedom. His fingers grazed a shard of glass that had fallen from the mirror, and he grasped it with a newfound hope. With trembling hands, he sawed at the ropes that held him captive, biting back the agony as the rough fibers dug into his skin. Inch by agonizing inch, the bindings gave way until his hands were finally free. He rose to his feet, his legs shaking under the strain. The room spun around him, a swirling vortex of pain and determination. But he refused to succumb to weakness. The blade, forgotten by his captors in their anticipation, lay innocently on the table. With a swift motion, he retrieved it, the cold metal pressing against his palm, a chilling reminder of his impending fate. The door creaked open, and the captors returned, their faces obscured by masks. But the man was ready. His eyes gleamed with defiance, a spark of survival burning within him. He lunged forward, unleashing a fury that only desperation could ignite. Blows were exchanged, each punch driven by the man's unyielding will. The room became a battleground, a place where hope clashed with cruelty. The man fought with a fervor fueled by a desire for freedom and the refusal to let pain be his captor. Time seemed to slow as the struggle raged on. The captors' masks fell away, revealing their fear-stricken faces. They had underestimated their prisoner, underestimated the human spirit that refuses to be broken. With one final surge of strength, the man overpowered his tormentors, leaving them sprawled on the ground. Breathing heavily, he took a moment to gather himself, his hand still clutching the blade. He had triumphed against insurmountable odds, defying his fate and emerging from the abyss that had threatened to consume him. The man stepped out into the world, the taste of victory mingling with the remnants of pain. His hand still bore the scars of his ordeal, a reminder of the battle he had fought and won. As he ventured into the unknown, he carried with him the indomitable spirit that had propelled him forward, the spirit that can turn a desperate man into an unstoppable force.